I'm happy to be here on behalf of the PM. This is an announcement about project integration management. Integration management involves unifying, combining and coordinating project management processes. Any questions?
What's the PM's role?
The PM's role is to ensure the project moves in one cohesive whole. No questions?
Well, welcome my friends to our daily drill for today. The project manager's role, integration, very important for your PMP exam. Now today I'm going to be asking you a series of questions. I call these the intersection questions, the intersections of process groups and knowledge areas. That understanding is very helpful for you as you prepare for your exam. Because if you know the intersection points, it becomes a little bit easier to identify where you are in each question. So today we're going to be taking a look at these intersection points. Before we get into that, a quick reminder, we have the PMP Exam TechCamp. It's coming up on the 18th of July and it's going to be going all the way to August 8th. You want to be part of this if you're struggling with scope, schedule, cost, risk, the technical areas of the exam. I want to encourage you to go on down to pmradio.org and sign up for the training there. It's going to be for 4 weeks and we're going to be giving you 16 hours of training to get you into the PMP or CAPM zone to get you certified. So let's take a look at what we have for today. We have a drill that you might have seen on this channel in some other ways, but our drill for today is going to highlight intersection points. And the first intersection point that I would like you to recall and work with me on is risk. So the question is very simple. In risk management, what do you get when you intersect risk and planning? This is a test really of page 25 that we've gone through several times on this channel. So without opening up your PMBOK guide, the question is, what do you get in the intersection of risk and planning? You could take out a piece of paper and write it down, or you could just go through the processes in your mind. First of all, how many are there and what are they? Five, 4, 3, and 1. All right, let's talk about these. The very first process is plan risk management. The second one is identify risks. The third one is perform qualitative risk analysis. The next one is perform quantitative risk analysis. And the final one here is plan risk responses. This is in the intersection of risk and planning. And it is important that you isolate these processes every now and again and just check to see if you really know and remember what these names are. Now this is especially for my students right now who are going through the process. They are rather green still and I really need them to master the process names and to know the intersection points. Okay? The more we do this, the better they're going to get. The next intersection point I want to challenge your memory on is the intersection of risk and monitoring and controlling. Let's not talk about executing for now. Let's focus on these two. Okay? So what you get at the intersection of risk and monitoring and controlling. 5 seconds. This is very, very simple. 5, 4, and 1. When you intersect risk and monitoring and controlling, your process is monitor risk, not control. Remember, risk is different. We observe that we are unable to control risk. We can monitor risk. But the word control has been avoided in the 6th edition. So monitor risk. Monitor risk is a special type of process where we not only check what we're doing as far as risk is concerned, the effectiveness and so on, but it's also where you would identify new risks. And this often comes as a surprise to people, especially on exam questions that may allude to monitor risk being where you find the new risks. It actually is where you find new risk. So keep that in mind. All right. Now we're done with this. I want to call your attention to the executing section. All right. So I'm going to get rid of monitoring and controlling. I'm going to make this executing. And what is the intersection point of risk and executing? I like doing it out of order just to make sure you got it. Anywhere you are on the exam, you're not going to be tricked or lost. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And the process is known as implement risk responses. Let's talk about the hallmarks of these really quickly. The hallmark of plan risk management is a risk management plan. It's got a plethora of components. We're going to talk about that in the Tech Camp. For those of you who are just coming, in the early part of this meeting, I announced that PMP Exam TechCamp is happening. It's a 16-hour boot camp, and it starts on the 18th of July. You do not want to miss it. This is going to be 4 hours every Saturday, 3:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. And we're going through all the technicalities of the PMBOK guide, the intricacies of schedule, cost, risk, scope, quality. We're going through all of them. All right, so be sure to join us there. Going back to our drill here, my friends, the landmarks, the hallmarks of plan risk management, the risk management plan, the different pieces of it, there's so many of them. The risk breakdown structure, format is in there. The strategy for risks, the methodology, many, many different pieces, the scales that you'll use. What will the probability impact matrix scale be? What will the probability impact matrix look like? Many, many things. Identify risks gives you an output, the risk register and the risk report, some intricacies to be aware of. Perform qualitative risk analysis is really more of a qualitative assessment of the risk without getting into specific numeric details such as currency and absolute percentages. No, we stay away from that, and we border more on qualitative measurements, like on a scale of 1 to 5, what would you call the probability, or scale of 1 to 10, what would you call the impact, for example. Perform quantitative risk analysis gets into the absolutes. It looks at the aggregate effect of risks on the project, and it also looks at the numeric values from a currency standpoint. In some firms choose to do it by resource hours, but you're looking for the aggregate effect of risks on the project. You're trying to get an understanding of that numerically using absolute probability and impact in dollars or something else. The next one is plan risk responses, planning how to respond to risk. This is very big, it's extremely wide, and we're going to be going through this when we meet. And implement risk responses, this is implementing the response you decided to. And lastly, monitor risk, which is not on the screen anymore. So when I talk about intersection points, my friends, you need to know what intersects, and then you need to know what exactly is happening in this process. All right, here's a quick question for you before we go back to our intersection points. And these drills, similar, are part of how we run our classes. You get drills every few minutes. So this drill authorization process for the project has just been completed. From this process group, you obtain, what do you obtain from this process group? Give you a few more minutes or seconds. not minutes, seconds. A few more seconds. All right, 3, 2, and 1. Okay. So the answer to this, my friends, we can use the process of elimination. You know, I always say, use the process of elimination. And when in doubt, just do that. Just do that. So here we go. We're going to use the process of elimination. And what we have here, business case, this is not done in the authorization process for the project. What do we mean by authorization process for the project? We mean develop project charter, right? So we do not create the business case or the project management plan or the change log. It's the assumption log that we create. Okay? So that's the answer to that one. Here's another one for you. Authorization process for the project is in progress. Which input should you use for this process group? Five, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Time up. Well, from this one, you can see the answer is stakeholder list. Why is that? Again, if you use the process of elimination, right? The authorization process for the project is in progress, right? What are they talking about here? They're talking about, again, develop project charter. Let's go back. Develop project charter. And in develop project charter, you're in the initiating process group, but you're also in initiating where you identify stakeholders, and you do not have any of these just yet. You're not using these just yet. You're not using a change log, but you are using the stakeholder list as an input to identify stakeholders. So it does need some thinking through, but questions like this are prevalent on exams such as the PMP exam. You gotta think it. You gotta think it a little bit. Okay? Let's go to our final intersection point drill for today. I have one more intersection point. For those of you just come in, a quick reminder again, I do not want you to miss it. PMP Exam TechCamp. To sign up, you need to go to pmradio.org. Sign up. We're starting on July 18th. We're going all the way to August 8th. I put these vehicles together to help you so that you can get PMP or CAPM certified without the stress I went through, without a trainer, a mentor, someone to help me. But now you have the luxury of being on these programs at extremely low cost. So let's go to our next drill. And the drill that I would like us to do here is for the knowledge area known as schedule, the schedule management knowledge area. So my question to you is, what do you get in the intersection point for schedule and planning? Schedule and planning, what do you get? I'll give you a minute to think about it. Think about it. Okay, well, that should be enough time for you to have jotted down these processes. So let's talk about them very quick. Again, my current students, these drills, you got to be following them. This is where I'm holding you accountable. The first process is plan, schedule, management. And this is where you get the schedule management plan that guides you on how to develop and manage the schedule. The next one is define activities. From here you get the activity list. From here you get activity attributes and the milestone list. The next one in schedule is to sequence the activities. And from here you get a project schedule network diagram. And this is the beginnings of critical path and forward passes, backward passes, and all that stuff. We are going to be covering that in the tech camp. All right, the next one is estimate activity durations. And lastly, develop schedule. So what do we get in estimate activity durations? In estimate activity durations, we get duration estimates. We also derive the basis of estimates. The basis of estimates is backup documentation to explain how we arrived at the estimates we did for those activities. That's pretty much it. Okay? Now, your next drill, before we conclude this, I would like you to tell me in monitoring and controlling, what is the intersection point with schedule and monitoring and controlling? This is very basic. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. The answer to this one, my friends, is none other than control schedule. Now you do notice that the language has changed from when we were in risk to when we are in schedule now. Now that we are in schedule, the language is control schedule, because you can control your schedule. Control schedule. Okay? Bear in mind, you know, when you read your favorite book over here, when you read the PMBOK guide, you got to remember that in chapter 6, 6.5 and 6.6 have a lot of similar tools and techniques and approaches, but you absolutely need to know that you do not have a live schedule to tweak until you are beyond planning, right? And that's why monitoring and controlling for the schedule, that's where the final process is, control schedule, okay? So let's have a couple more drill questions to kick the tires on a few other topics that I want to ensure you guys have mastered. Here we go. Your sponsor is responsible to create the what? What is your sponsor responsible to create? Give you 10 seconds to think about it. All right, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, the answer to this, my friends, is not the assumption log. That would be the project manager working along with a team to do that. So it's not assumption log and it's not change log. That's the job of the project manager. Your sponsor does not create the stakeholder register, right? So assumption log, change log, stakeholder register are not the sponsor's job, but the business case, that is. that is. Okay. Next question. This is a wildcard question. Agile release planning is a tool and technique of which process? Agile release planning is a tool and technique of which process? Three, two, and one. The answer to this, my friends, is develop schedule. Agile release planning is a tool and technique of develop schedule. It seems as though we have another one similar to that. Let's do that one before we go to a final text question. And this is a very basic one for those of you who have already read it. Bidder conferences is a tool and technique used in. Where do we use the bidder conference? 3, 2, and 1. Bidder conferences, tool and technique of conduct procurements. All right. Let's move on to our final text question. Oh, it's questions. Okay. So here's the first one. Authorization process for the project has just been completed. What should you do next on the project? Three, 2, and 1. The answer's on the screen. The answer is project management plan. That is the first thing you would begin to work on, because you need part of the plan to do the risk register. There's no such thing in the world of risk. We say risk register, not risk log, so that's not legit. And then the project charter, it says authorization process for the project has just been completed. That means the charter is complete. So the answer is project management plan. All right, let's go to the next and final text question. Here is your final text question. The salience model was used to compile the following: power, urgency, and what? Power, urgency, and what? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's changed. My PowerPoint has a mind of its own. The answer is legitimacy. That is the answer. Not legality, not attitude, not laissez-faire, but legitimacy. Salience model, you got to remember the pull factor, P-U-L. And if you have any questions about the PMP exam process, I want you to put them below in the comments below, okay? If you missed it in the very beginning, we have the PMP Exam TechCamp. It's coming up Saturday, the 18th of July. You do not want to miss it. It's going to be awesome. We're going 4 weeks, 4 hours every week. We're going to unravel the technical areas of the PMBOK guide, the triple constraint, schedule, cost, scope, and then risk and quality to boot. That's the idea. All right? Once again, thank you all very much for joining me today. And if you have any questions, I would love to answer those for you. So make sure you put them in the comments below somewhere. For those getting ready for the exam, I wish you all the very best, and don't forget to hit like, subscribe, browse the channel. You'll find a lot of videos that can help you in your prep.